Hello, welcome to the Cavalier's Tale. So, it's probably been a long enough time, hasn't it? I don't remember. Oh, I don't know. It's been a very, very long time. I've done update videos, but no battle reports because I kept letting them build up. And if you watched any of the Masters coverage, I went to a lot of tournaments last year, so there were a lot of them to go through. So, new year, new start. We're going to sweep out all the old ones, and we're going to start afresh, and we're going to try and keep on top of them this time. And I've put this off long enough because Bristol is coming up in a couple of weeks. KOE are getting an update very soon, so I better get on with these and put them out before they become obsolete as well again. Yes. So, you might see in the top right corner, Masters 2023. I was lucky enough to go to Masters back in January. I went to lots of tournaments last year. Again, if you've watched any of the Masters coverage, I went to a lot of tournaments last year. And I did well enough at enough of them to sneak into the top 16 and get an invite, so I went along. And this is my tale as to how that went. So I've got 6 battle reports for you, 5 of them from the tournament. One of them is practice from Friday night against one of the other Masters players, Luke Williams. And that's the one that we're going to look at first. So let's get started, shall we? Battle report number 29, Kingdom of Equitaine versus Undying Dynasties. Let's take a look at the lists. So here's my list for the tournament. This is from the Alpha 4 version of the KOE book, if you happen to be watching this in the future, in which case hello from the past. Let's go through that quickly. So my BSB is a Equitan Lord on a Hippogriff. He's got a 1-up rerollable with Dusk Forged and Ghostly Guard. I've given him a Bastard Sword to make him Strength 5, and he's got Forbearance, so he is distracting while he's using a shield, which of course he is because he's got a Dusk Forged shield. I had 10 points left over after the Dusk Forged and the Ghostly Guard, so I gave him an Aether icon. I think it came up once in this game, so I'd say it paid for itself over the weekend, regardless of the fact that it wasn't used in the tournament at all, I don't think. But, yeah. It's fine. I've used this build a lot in other lists, and before this update in Alpha 3, Alpha 2, and whatever. And he is fantastic. The Ghostly Guard makes you think that you can kill him with magic, but he's still 4 res 5 wounds. If you ignore his armor save entirely, he's got a 5+ Aegis. If I see it coming and I manage to organize myself, I can give him an Orison to give him a 5+ Aegis as well. In combat, he's also defensive 6 and distracting as well, so even if you've got magical attacks, he's still a 3-up rerollable, res 5, defensive 6 distracting, so he's very, very tough to kill, and he's really good at just like holding up an entire unit. He's essentially a flying tar pit that gives me 18-inch rally around the flag, so he's amazing. I love him. He's great. Next up, I've got a Damsel on a Destrier. She's a Wizard Master of Druidism. I was trying out the new Druidism for this tournament. I really enjoyed it. Divination is also really good, just because the attribute is really good for the army, but I enjoyed Druidism, and we'll get to see how that went for me over the weekend. My third and final character is a folk hero. He's my general on a Fey Steed. Great weapon with Cleansing Light, so that's the new one with Divine attacks and Flaming attacks. Light Armour, Essence of Mithril, Potion of Strength for giving myself some AP and some really high strength for if I need it. And also, he's Sainted, so I get +1 to hit on that because it's not an attack attribute currently. And finally, the Folk Hero heroic traits are Castellan to give him extra attacks, and Minstrel, making him a musician and a divination apprentice. Excuse me, I'm going to eat a chocolate coin. Next up, I've got a perfect core, which always makes us happy. I'm exactly 1125 points out of 1125 points. 3 units of Feudal Knights, 1 unit of 12 with a Champion, Musician, Standard Bearer, and Relic Shroud, giving me the Hereditary as a bound spell. And 2 lots of 6 with Musicians, Standard Bearers, and Banners of Discipline, so I can play them out wide as scoring darts. In Special, I've got 2 lots of 9 Knights Resplendent with Musicians, 2 lots of 6 Hedge Knights, unit of 5 Yeoman Outriders with bows and shields, and the Ladies Courtier, Courtier of the Dusk, so that's the Witchcraft Adept version. So, loads and loads of different kind of threats. This is like the most MSUE I've kind of played KOE before, and I had a lot of fun with it. It was really entertaining to play with so many different units on the board. Generally, I would say if you'd seen from my battle reports, but I didn't do any battle reports last year, I generally play with like a few very tough to kill blocks and then lots of single models around that. I've got 3 single models in this list, but I also have, 7 units of knights. Alright, I mean, 2 of them are scoring darts and 2 of them are units of 6 hedge knights, but they're still strength 6 on the charge for the feudal knights, and the hedge knights are very scary on the charge as well, so lots of charge dependent little units of tough to kill knights, really. Onto my opponent's list. So I was playing against Undying Dynasties. Don't play against these an awful lot because generally they're not very popular, and they're also not particularly popular on the UK scene. Luke is the only person I can think of who regularly plays them. I can think of other players, but they switch between other armies as well. So it was interesting to play against something that was a little bit more unknown that I don't see and play against very often. So starting off, we've got a very expensive Pharaoh. He's the general on a Shard Guardian with light armor, because you've got to pick between that and heavy armor, and you might as well play for light armor while you're on a gigantic mount, or not pay for light armor, not pay for heavy armor. Yeah, it's kind of a quirk of new recruit, I suppose. It's a choice that comes up on the list. Great weapon with Godslayer, so that's an extra attack and divine attacks and multiple wounds 2 against any kind of Aegis, which is horrible for me. And Crown of the Pharaoh is giving him an extra 6 inches on his commanding presence, and he can hand out his Undying Will, I think. I think it stops being useful on his unit. You can just hand it off to somebody else. Of course, he's not in a unit, so he's not benefiting from his own Undying Will, because it doesn't affect him. But he can pass it out to the rest of the army, which is cool. A Death Cult Hierarch, Wizard Master Cosmology, Crystal Ball, and Hierophant. Death Cult Hierarch, Wizard Adept of Divination, so 6 spells there, plus pretty decent, the Crystal Ball is a pain in the ass to deal with. A Tomb Architect, just with light armor in his pants, otherwise he's there to hand out a 5+ Fortitude, which is really nice on all the big, blocky, scary things in the army, the big combat blocks. In core, a unit of 7 skeleton chariots, Legion Charioteers, so that gives them fight an extra rank and devastating charge, +1 strength, I think. Full command with Stalker Standard, because that's a gigantic unit that doesn't want to touch any walls or ruins. 21 skeletons with Musician, that's the bunker. 2 lots of 5 skeleton scouts as chaff. A unit of 5 Tomb Cataphracts with Musician and Champion as one of the combat blocks. 2 lots of Colossus with paired weapons, and 2 Tomb Reapers with paired weapons. So, model count on this list, I think I outnumber it, which is quite strange for KoE, especially against undead, but very heavy duty blocks in there. Like, it's going to be pretty difficult work to kill any of it. Like, the Shard Guardian is very scary for my entire list. The Colossus are also pretty nasty as well. They don't get stomps, but they get grinds against me still, and that's at strength 6 AP 3, which is nasty. And they are res 6 with 5 wounds. And then, of course, with the Cosmology, it's quite easy to heal quite a decent number of wounds on them very quickly. So, nasty. I think I outnumber the threats, but all of my stuff is quite small and weirdly delicate in comparison. And I need to be very, very careful with the Shard Guardian. We go into Friday night practice game. So this is the deployment. I actually borrowed some painted models from Hugh for the weekend, so I'm using the models that I brought with me, which is why I've got some unpainted stuff and some spray painted stuff, so apologies for that. It will be better for the weekend. On my deployment, in my bottom right, I've got... we were playing Refused Flank and Spoils of War, so you can just about see the tokens there. One in the centre, one here, and one in the forest there. This is top of turn 1, so I think this is just as Luke starts to do his turn 1 movement, so you can see the movement tray out in front of my knights on the right here. That's where one of these units of skeleton scouts is vanguarded and then is moving up to chaff all of these guys here, because the owlbear doesn't fly. That's the lady's courtier, and of course the knights don't either. Deployment-wise, I've got my Ladies Courtier, 6 Feudal Knights, 9 Knights Resplendent, my BSB Hippogriff, 12 Feudal Knights with my Druidism Master, sorry, 9 more Resplendents, my Folk Hero on a Face Steed, my Chaff, 6 Hedge Knights, and right up the top in the corner, that must be a unit of 6 Feudal Knights. And then opposing me, I've got 5 Tomb Cataphracts on my left, a Colossus, a Shar Guardian, the Bunker with all 3 of the 2 Wizards and the Tomb Architect, and then the massive unit of Skeleton Chariots, and then down at the bottom right here, we've got some Tomb Reapers. Before we move on, this is a really cool army. This is using Age of Sigmar's Night Haunt models. All the ghosts and stuff. So the chariots are a pair of ghosts, and they're dragging behind them like they're chained to massive coffins, which is really cool. And then these are the guys are the slightly big skeletal spectral horses with the guys with the massive swords on the back. All looked really cool. Looked very, very pleasing on the eye. Nice to look at. So yeah, Luke dropped 4 first turn, and then our counter deployed. When we had a talk at the end of the game, we decided, or Luke pointed out, that deploying heavy on this side was a pretty bad idea, because he's going to get to move first with both of his scouts, so he can chaff me all along this line here, and then I don't have any space to back out, so he can pressure me behind with his chariots, his Shar Guardian, the Colossus, push up very, very easily, and then just back me into corner here, and of course there's no space for me to back up out of, which is bad. And of course, going into turn 1, that is exactly what he's done. We've kind of skipped ahead into my turn here. But yeah, so he has put his skeletal scouts here. The other unit has blocked up on this side. And then he's moved up aggressively with a Colossus, another Colossus, and his Shar Guardian. And it just means that I can't really go forward, and I don't have space to back up either. So I think this is a 16, maybe a 17. Might even have been shorter. And I couldn't really do anything about it because I couldn't charge him with anything, because I don't have any big stuff to deal with, big scary characters really, which spoilers is a theme for the weekend. So I sent 6 Feudal Knights into the Skeleton Scouts on this side to deal with this unit, so that I don't have to deal with them later. On this side, I just used them as chaff, because otherwise his Shar Guardian can make auto charges into basically, you know, anything he likes here. Resplendent's my general, my wizard bunker. The Owlbear moves up to the right. The Tomb Reapers have moved up and are staring at these guys as well, so I've just moved out of arc with that guy. Magic, I don't think an awful lot happens. He's not killed anything by the looks of things. So my turn. I push up very aggressively on this side. I use my Feudal Knights here as bait, and then didn't angle these units quite well enough, and I was also just too close here for comfort. I didn't need to be that close, but also this is an incredibly wide unit, so you know, that's my mistake, but it wouldn't happen against other armies generally. I also managed to find a gap here. This Colossus here is looking this way in case I decided to go for a very long charge with something that could have done. I think my Hippogriff BSB had a charge into these guys on a 9 maybe, so he's just looking that way to protect from that. So in my turn, seeing that, and I just had a look in here, I've got enough space to sit in, point at his wizard bunker with my BSB, and that gives 18-inch rallying around the flag. So I think I'm touching all of these units still, which is a nice spot to sit in. And it also means that he's got to spend one of these Colossus on protecting his wizard bunker, or just let me at the wizard bunker, which of course he's not going to let me do. I don't remember what happened in Magic. I've got an 8-6 phase there by the looks of things, but you know, Druidism isn't known for doing any particular damage in the first early turns. So moving on a little bit. So we went through my turn. Of course, I killed the Skeleton Scouts here. He has put the other unit out in front of the 2 Resplendents here because I'm just close enough there. He's failed a charge with his Shar Guardian here, which is why he's had to chaff this unit. Tomb Reapers have turned around to look at my Owlbear, and I overran with these guys because it was a very short charge anyway, so I needed to sort of chaff them. I don't know, I remember whether I was chaffing them, or whether I was just being awkward. I think either way, he can't let me go round because that means I've got a unit to go up for the bunker, and of course, if he doesn't charge me, then I've also got the option of charging him, which of course with lances you probably don't want. So the skeleton chariots go into the side of my feudal knights. Out on the top flank there, the tomb cataphracts go into my feudal knights, and this colossus moves to chaff my BSB, blocking line of sight to the bunker. And the one that was standing on the marker in the centre has moved out of line of sight of everything and is looking at my folk hero general. Next picture. I think that's just another view at things. Yep. So what happened here in this combat? I think I failed a fear check, maybe. Either way, he batters me. I don't get an awful lot to do to him. And as I said, I was just that little bit too close here, so he made the overrun. It was a short distance, and he just clips on this corner, so he's able to swing in and connect on the hedge knights here. And we'll fight that on my turn. And here we go into my turn. So the other hedge knights, thankfully, I did angle those properly and put them in the right spot, so they get a flank charge into these tomb cataphracts. We're going to see who wins that fight. In everything else, my wizard bunker charges into the skeleton chariots, who finish off those. So in the previous turn, sorry, the feudal knights that were here get beaten up by the skeleton chariots and either break and run off the board or just are wiped out. They turn back towards the centre to face in, and then my turn, I charge in with the hedge knights on that side. The feudal knights with my wizard master go into the skeleton chariots, and my BSB pins down that colossus in the centre. With what's going on with this colossus, so I think I went for this charge as well. He's got a fair number of high strength attacks. He'd be useful in the grind, certainly, which I'm going to be there for a little while. So I fail that. I just completely ignore the colossus here and let him go for it. Whatever. I need to get into something. So I fail the charge, and he's got a rear on my general here. So I reposition the respondents to be looking up that way. These guys, just so that they've got options here, and potentially I charge the Tomb Reapers with my Eyewear. Let's see. Yes, I do. So the Lady's Courtier is going to take on the Tomb Reapers as well. In this combat, I think I do 4 or 5 wounds with the charging hedge knights. I take the same on the unit that have been charged, and we go on to fight another round of combat there. In this combat down here, I think the owlbear gets very lucky and kills one of them, either through crumble or before, but he sticks around for another round of combat. I think I do a fair amount of damage to the chariots here. Not nearly as much as I'd want to. I think maybe I fluffed, or maybe I just don't have enough attacks to do a significant dent to them. But we're stuck there for now. And then in Luke's turn. So this combat of here, before we get to that, my BSB has managed to do 3 wounds to the Colossus, and he's not done anything back to me. It's pretty difficult for him to hit him because he's hitting on 5s and then wounding on 3s, and then I got a 4-up rerollable. So, I mean, with the grinds, he should be doing more than he managed to do all game. But I tank the damage relatively safely. And then Luke's turn. So he charges the Chaff with his Shard Guardian and passes my Terror with a 9 rerollable. He charges this Colossus into the rear of my Folk Hero with an overrun into these guys, same with the Shard Guardian. And we go to magic and stuff. So is this another view? Yeah, just another view of what's going on. That's the Fortitude that he's put on there from the Tomb Architect. Oh wow, okay, so that misses out an awful lot of stuff. Jeez. Right, okay, let me see if I can talk through this. Sorry, I've done a little bit of a Vespasian there, haven't I? Not taken any photos in the middle of the game. So, let me see. So let's talk about how the BSB gets on. So we go for several rounds of combat, but with him healing with the Cosmology Master getting Touch the Heart and various different buff healing spells on the Colossus there, keeping it alive for a little bit of time, but he gets pretty unlucky to not do any damage to me at all through any of these combats. Potentially he gets one before that next combat there, but I do eventually grind him out and kill him. I think he's out of line of sight for when I become a free, or perhaps I just needed the combat to get in onto the skeleton chariots and break them. But yes, so I grind through the Colossus. He doesn't do an awful lot to me. In this combat here, I think my folk hero actually does a number on this Colossus. I don't think he manages to do an awful lot to me. He maybe does 2 or 3 wounds, but I survive with a 4+ Aegis. And then with my Potion of Strength, I'm hitting him on 2s, wounding him on 2s, and then I roll for the D3, and I get 3. And of course it's D3 plus 1, so I do 4 wounds to him. He doesn't do enough, so I crumble him immediately, which is pretty spicy. I mean, you know, it's a crush attack from Potion of Strength, so it's incredibly swingy. I could have very easily rolled a 1 onto hit or to wound, but there we go. So I deal with that, and then that eventually goes through into that combat with the skeletons there, which is why the Resplendents don't get involved with anything for a little while. The Shar Guardian here, of course, wipes the chaff, goes straight into the side of these guys, and then between his attacks, the Shar Guardian attacks, and the chariots here, which I think had Lethal Strike, potentially something else from Cosmology and Divination, they splatter these poor Feudal Knights. I think there are some guys left, but they flee to a point, they fail to rally, and then they run off the board. They don't take anything with them, because I've got attributes in the right places. Do I have... Or maybe I just pass my panic. Either way, the Shar Guardian takes out the Feudal Knights here in the centre. The Owlbear manages to win the grind with the Tomb Reaper, and then from there, a couple turns on, this is the picture that we get to. So this Shar Guardian has come through and is sitting in front of this Resplendent block to stop them from charging this Chariot block. So I put them into the front. I roll a 9 or a 10, so I get quite lucky with this charge here. I do have some Orison tokens left, which is what the red dice there is for. And I managed to win that combat. I think I kill him full stop. He's only res 6. I mean, he's got 7 hit points, but he's only res 6, so I roll enough 4+s to do a significant amount of damage to this guy, and either kill him or crumble him, and then they both make their overrun into the skeleton block. And we call it there and work out the points, or you know, work out what would have killed what. Quickly though, up in the top left, you can see that the Hedge Knights are all dead. One of the Fuel Knights is back. I think he dies in this round of combat here. So the Tomb Cataphracts have given up half points, but they've dealt with that flank by themselves, and they've hung on to that marker there. But with enough turns still to go, I win the objective, and I'm up a decent amount of points, and that takes us to... Oh, there we go, a nice, slightly clearer photo from the blurry one there. That takes us to final scores, which was an 18-2 to me. So, you know, I lost a significant amount of points there, having lost the left flank and my Wizard Master, and a big chunk of points in that core unit that acts as my my Wizard Bunker. But yeah, I was pretty on the ropes, especially early on, having deployed with giving myself no space to back up in case things needed to be backed up. And I just being pressured early on by the 2 Colossus and the Shar Guardian and the Chariots and the Tomb Reapers on one flank. I just managed to hang on in the right places. I got pretty lucky with dice, like the BSB holding against the Colossus. The Potion of Strength working against the other Colossus with my general, and dealing with those 2 models meant that I could isolate the Shard Guardian by itself and charge it with 2 lots of Resplendence. And then by the time all of that was dealt with, I had all 3 single models and 2 Lances of Resplendence to go into the chariots. The Hedge Knights on the other flank had managed to hold up the Cataphracts for long enough that they were out on the other side of the board and away from everything else that was important. And yeah, that was game. So yeah, nice little bit of practice before Masters there. Like I say, I think, you know, as is generally the story I find with Undead Armies, I just managed to hang on long enough for him to run out of steam with everything and just suddenly crack everything all at once. But yeah, good fun game. Luke was a lovely opponent. You might be able to see that we were playing in my Premier In room, so this is actually the bed. So it was a slightly softer battlefield than we're used to. But yeah, that was the first game of the weekend, and going on to the Masters with a little bit of a spring in my step. So join me next video for round 1 of the UK Masters 2023 and see how the Cavalier gets on. Thanks for joining us, and I'll catch you next time.